All right, welcome back to TSP. I am Dr. Evil Genius.
And I'm Louis Rossman.
Yes, this is not Captain Paul. This is Louis Rossman of Rossman Repair Group and of the Louis Rossman channel. How you doing, Louis?
I'm doing lovely.
Yeah.
I'm not in a state that tries to pass stupid legislation about e-bikes anymore.
Well, yeah, I saw that you recently posted a video, so it's kind of apropos that we would talk about e-bikes. Obviously, when we look at the actual, content of the article that we're going to go over, you're going to see another reason why it's relevant to Louis Rossman. So, we thank you for coming through here and gracing us with your presence. So
thank you for having me.
Yeah. So I mean, dude, e-bikes, man. I know that you're a big proponent of the Bafang. How many times have you taken it out in Texas?
None, because it's still sitting in my store in New York City. I did not bring it on the truck yet.
Wow.
I know, I miss it. But
yeah.
The thing, having an e-bike is so awesome because if I try to drive from where I used to live to my store, it would take an hour. And on an e-bike, it would take me 27 minutes if I drive like a grandma and 23 minutes if I drive like me. So even if you're driving like a grandma, it takes way less time to get there. Even electric car, even if you're driving it really, really efficiently, it's going to be like 200, 250 watt hours a mile, whereas the e-bike is going to be 20 to 40 watt hours a mile, so it's much more energy efficient. It's way cheaper than a car, and it just takes up so much less space. You don't have to worry about parking. You can just bring it inside. It's an amazing way to get around. So I'm a very big advocate of the e-bike as a way to maneuver and get around a highly densely populated city area.
Right. And it's, I think I raced you to the gym once, and we got there at almost the exact same time. I think you beat me by, I don't know, like 30 seconds because I didn't want to take a yellow light. But, obviously, people, the secret is out, right? Like, people have figured out what you figured out. And
it's
they
a cheat
figured
code
out
to life. It makes you so much happier. You're above ground. It's cheap.
Yeah, exactly. So you're traveling at 19.9999999 miles per hour instead of being underground or being in a reckless Uber or anything like that. And so now you have so many people. I mean, you have to put the e-bike somewhere, right?
Yeah, and a big problem in New York City is if you bring the bike inside. There's the risk of fire in the apartment. And if you leave the bike outside, it's not going to be there when you get back. So my tactic with my e-bike was to make it look like it was about to blow up. So I did the wiring in a way where instead of all the wiring was clean. It was properly done. It was liquid resistant. All my crimps were liquid resistant and everything and well rated. But I had all the wires out and I just wouldn't zip tie a couple of them. And I had the controller mounted to what was the bottom of a MacBook. So I made it look like it would go on fire if you touched it the wrong way, so that nobody would touch it, and that actually worked. Like I actually had a bike that I was going to modify to make it to an e-bike. It stolen literally the day I bought it because it looked new and nice, and it was worth way less than it would have been as an e-bike with me adding $1,000 or $2,000 worth of stuff to it. But once I add everything to it, I would always have to kind of engineer it to look janky in some way so that somebody wouldn't take it.
Right.
Like sometimes I would take caulk for like window insulation caulking material from Home Depot, and I cut the battery bag and I put some of the caulk on there, and then I actually mounted a switch that literally wasn't even plugged into anything with a wire sticking out of it, so it would look like it would shock you if you touched it. But yeah, people don't lock the bike outside because if they lock it outside, it would be stolen.
Right. So there was one particular situation where I don't know. I'm just going to say this one term, and then you can explain. Okay. Unit pack power.
I've had 3 batteries from Unit Pack Power, and I've had 3 e-bike fires in my life. Can you guess which brand made all of those batteries?
Well, according to this, it was Unit Pack Power.
Yes, that was 506 Green Avenue there. My address for almost 14 years. So There is now when somebody sees something like that, I imagine their first thought is something must be done about those damn e-bikes. And I understand the desire to jump in and do something legislatively because having something like that happen is bad. That looks horrible. The thing that bothers me,
you see these e-bikes all the time.
yes, mine again. That fire, that was a lot more wattage than what is. I mean, a lot more watt hours than what's in your average e-bike. I think that what you see there was like something like 5 or 6 kilowatt hours worth of fire. Most of these e-bikes are not even one.
So like a fifth of a Tesla Model 3.
That's. I would say that what you see there is about maybe 5% of a Model 3 long range, or 4% of a Model 3 long range.
Oh wow, it's a lot lower than I thought. It's like 1/20th or 1/25th.
Yeah, I mean a Tesla is 4,400 pounds. So I mean, if I was carrying around 5% of 4,400 pounds, that would be difficult.
Right.
So
I was just talking about like the battery capacity.
Yeah. So like when you see something like that, you probably think, "Oh my God, do something, do something, do something." And one of the things I've said on my channel over the past 10 years, and I apply this to almost everything, whether you're talking about like post 9/11, COVID restrictions, e-bikes, anytime you have a large group of people saying somebody should do something, do something, do something, the policy you get coming out of that tends to be the shittiest policy that screws over everybody for the longest period of time. And like the problem, so my TLDR hot take on this, the problem here has nothing to do with e-bikes in general as a concept. It has nothing to do with repairing e-bike batteries. It has to do with the fact that there are garbage manufacturers that produce shit e-bike batteries that are made like crap. So like, they'll use the cheapest possible nickel. Actually, there's one example I could probably find here where they use literally like the cheapest possible nickel plated shit to save a couple of dollars, or they'll claim that they fuse the different lines of batteries and they don't. And like there's one example here when it comes to unit pack power. Let me see. Let me just bring this up. Yeah, like there are lots of unit pack power batteries that show up in this e-bikes Discord I'm in that wind up being filled with corrosion, or like they've claimed that they add per cell fusing for the advertising in all their packs, and then it came out that they didn't even do it. It wasn't even their own crappy version of per cell fusing. They were just adding a lie to their spec sheets and claiming that this little end of the 18650s was their cell fusing, which is insane. Like they'll try to save $1 on a $500 battery by using nickel-plated steel strips. In my case, I paid extra for 35 E-cells, and they just shipped me a battery using the cheapest Chinese shit possible and didn't say anything about it. It's just stuff like that. And so I have an e-bike battery from a company called EM3EV. That's one of the best you can get. They take pride in their batteries. They have like a 6-week wait time. They just say, if you want the batteries that we make, you must wait. We will make them at our pace. We're not going to speed up manufacturing for you to make a shitty product. They're not mass produced. Everything they do is amazing. The wiring is amazing. They have temperature sensors in there. They're usually very, very overrated for what they actually sell them for. And I've had 2 of those batteries fixed by Mario Contino and somebody else who did an amazing job. And I still use them. Like one of them is from summer of 2018. I still use that battery and it works awesome. It's not the fact that it was refurbished that's the problem. It's the batteries that are put together like shit to begin with. So they're trying to propose legislation that would make it illegal for you to remanufacture these lithium-ion batteries, which is completely missing the point, because these batteries that are going on fire are not remanufactured batteries. They're batteries that were just pieces of shit to begin with. And if you really want to get to the root cause of this issue, the problem is that people who are driving these bikes are broke. They're people that just arrived from another country. Like one of the great things about New York City is that you can arrive from another country with virtually no knowledge, no ability to speak the language, and start making $200 to $300 a day doing all different types of jobs. But sometimes, there's a lead up period to that. If you come here with no money, you're not going to buy a $5,000 e-bike. You're going to buy the cheapest thing you can get your hands on. And it's often something that's going to blow up. So you have these people that are working for DoorDash or Uber Eats or, that are doing all these Grubhub deliveries that are, as I said on my channel, they're not even allowed to use the bathroom in a lot of instances when they go to the restaurants. The restaurant won't even let them take a piss, much less,
They have to legislate a law to make that possible.
Yes, I mean, like, the people that show up that are very hardworking, they work 15 hours a day delivering food in the shittiest of weather. It's 109 degrees in the summer,
In
-7
a
in the
fucking
winter.
hurricane.
They will deliver your food in any weather. These people are fucking hardworking, awesome people, but they're broke. These jobs
Yeah.
pay like shit. So they will buy the cheapest piece of crap e-bike there is, which comes with the cheapest piece of crap battery. If you want to solve this problem, banning e-bikes is ridiculous because it's the future of transportation in these types of cities. It gives you an amazing sense of freedom. It's way better than having cars clog up everything. It's way better than dealing with the nonsense. I could talk about the train forever and all the things that suck about dealing with the MTA. It's a new way of transportation that's great. Banning the repair of these batteries is ridiculous. What you need to figure out how to do is get people batteries that don't suck. And again, at the end of the day, the serious problem there is going to be these people, the people that use these e-bikes, they're not mostly people like me. For every one person like me that uses an e-bike, small business owner that just wants to get around the city easier, there's 20 people using them that are workers that are getting probably below minimum wage and living on tips, that working for restaurants that literally won't even let them use the bathroom. So the problem there is you have to figure out a way to incentivize people to utilize quality batteries in these e-bikes, not disincentivize them from fixing them. Because here's the thing. If let's say you say, okay, we're not going to allow remanufactured batteries. We're not going to allow you to fix it. Let's say something goes wrong with your battery or a BMS. You have two choices. You only have $200 in the bank. You could get a good battery fixed for $200, or you could get your good $700 battery fixed for $200, or you could buy a battery that's $200 new. Which one's more likely to go on fire? The good battery with per-cell fusing, temperature sensors, proper cells, good liquid resistance, or the battery that's selling for $200 new? Like, which one's going to have more safety cost-cutting measures?
Well, in this article here, because they're actually, I think the problem that they had in this particular fire is that they were, it looked like they were running some sort of repair shop in the apartment. They found 5 bikes in there. And, obviously some of these batteries or the wiring is not that good. And these guys, like you said, these guys rely on these vehicles to fund their life. Not even their lifestyle, their ability to live, their livelihoods. So when these batteries don't work the way that they're supposed to, now you're in a situation where they're in an apartment somewhere trying to fix these bikes inside, up in the air. I mean, they were, I don't know, what floor are they on? Oh, they were on the 20th floor, right? They're on the 20th floor. You got if the battery packs light on fire, and of course we understand that sometimes you don't even need bad wiring for a lithium ion battery to light on fire. Sometimes the ambient temperature rising too high can cause pressure within a particular cell. And then when one cell lights up, that added temperature causes all the other cells to then light up and keep lighting up for sometimes over 2 weeks.
You're looking at 90, maybe over 90 to 100 Celsius to get to the point of thermal runaway. And if you're at the point of 90 to 100 Celsius, everybody in the apartment's probably dead. There's 2 things here that I think about when I see this. The first is, the fact that let's just go into the fact that a repair shop is being run in an apartment. So there's a number of things wrong with this. To be clear, if you're fixing electronics like what I fix in an apartment, I don't care. Obviously, if you're fixing lithium-ion batteries with 3 to 5 kilowatt-hour capacities, there's a difference in the safety procedures that you're going to take here. So the first things first is the fact that e-bikes that are actually effective are illegal means that the entire industry for repair and resale of them is going to be underground to some extent. I'm not sure what the e-bike laws are like now, to be clear. I just know that I built mine back in 2018. A very reasonable e-bike was illegal. The reason everybody used illegal e-bikes is because the legal ones were pedal assist only, which sucks, limited to 750 watts, which means you're not going to be able to keep up with a car in the street. If you cannot keep up with a car in the street, instead of riding with you, they are going to try to get around you. And since the people in New York City drive like shit, as you probably see on many occasions, they're going to hit you. So you need a bike that's going to keep up with traffic. You need a bike that's going to go without you having to pedal. And also the bikes, since they would make all these restrictions on legal e-bikes, very few people would sell them. Since there was low demand and low supply of them, the price is like 5,000 or 6,000 each. So if you wanted an
Right.
e-bike that didn't suck, you had to get an illegal one. And when you're dealing with maintaining something that's illegal, you're not going to be doing that out of a storefront. You're going to be doing that out of an apartment where people can't see you. So it's not, you're less likely to be working out of a professional setup. The second
Right.
thing is, as I've gone over on my channel for like 3 years now, all the retail spaces in New York City are empty because everybody wants $500 a square foot, and they're claiming that their 300 square foot office is actually a 10,000 square foot mall. So you have the fact that this business is being driven underground by the fact that a lot of these products are illegal when they shouldn't be, which means that they're going to be fixed in unsafe areas. And B, you have an incentive structure for people to use residences to do commercial business out of, because where the hell else are you going to do commercial business out of? Where are we going to put our retail space for lease sign if somebody actually rents this place at a reasonable price? So, and these are very difficult things to address with a law. So like releasing a law that says you can't remanufacture e-bike, you can't use remanufactured e-bike batteries. Okay, I mean, so many of these e-bikes were illegal already when they were using them. In 2018, how many e-bikes did you see delivering food? You did those things that they had a throttle. There was no pedal assist on that shit. Those e-bikes were all illegal. So they were already breaking the law by using them. So by introducing a law that says you're not allowed to use the bike with a remanufactured battery, I mean, how is NYPD going to enforce this? Like, really, when they say a 750 watt limit, honestly, I'm not trying to insult the NYPD.
It?
No, I'm not
they're
trying to
gonna
insult the
measure on the
NYPD.
street?
But when the NYPD, when the officer pulls you over, does he pull out a multimeter? Like, what the fuck is he going to do? Open it up and inspect the cells? Like, are you serious? How the fuck are you going to enforce this? This is ridiculous. But even if you actually had a method of enforcing this, which you're never going to be able to enforce this, it just doesn't make sense. Now, if you had an actual license for e-bike repair shop, and then these bikes were legal, you could do things like this. You could say, if you want to be fixing e-bikes, for every 1 kilowatt hour of battery in your shop, you need this many pounds of sand in a bucket. Because one of the best ways to deal with lithium-ion battery fires by far, the moment you see that it sparked at all, you toss it into the bucket, you pour a bag of sand on it. It's still going to be burning, but you're not going to see flames everywhere. Like, this is what people are trained to do on this. If you spray it, again, if you use a normal fire extinguisher, bad. If you use a hose, God help you. If you just if you have the ability to pour a pile of sand on it, it's not going to be great, but it's going to be better than nothing. And if you had a license, you could at least then try to say, okay, you have to get this certification to have an e-bike repair shop, or here are the things we're going to inspect when we come by. We're going to want to see what your workspace looks like. We're going to want to see what you work on. We want to see the brands of batteries you sell. Make sure that the battery, maybe we want to see a little bit more EM3V, less unit pack power. And also, let's see what your safety procedures are like. You know, how do you deal with this? When I was working on an e-bike battery in my store, I remember actually dragging a bag of sand there for the one day that I was opening up my battery, because I didn't exactly have a lot of confidence in my handiwork. But it's better to be safe than sorry. I want the ability to toss that onto my battery, or just be able, if something happens, rather than blow up my building.
Right. Well, let me ask you this question. NYCHA, New York City Housing Authority, for those scoring at home, which has seen deadly fires, is considered banning the storage of the battery-powered devices inside the apartments after discovering tenants using their units as ad hoc charging stations and repair shops for bikes and scooters. Because when you think about it, right, you see all of those bikes on the streets. Where do you think that these people are actually charging these bikes? It only makes sense that they would go someplace where, I don't know, you can plug this shit in. And in a lot of places, the only place that people really know are, the 120 volt, like right there in the wall that normally people plug shit in, right?
Yeah, I mean,
so what do you think about
plug
this here?
in? I mean,
Right.
where else are you gonna plug your battery in to be able to charge it? Like, one of the things that I did, which this is absolutely horrible. I got an industrial, very, 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 very thick, something like 8 or 6 gauge extension cord, and I dropped it down my window, and I would have it next to my bike. But like, I mean, like, that's bad. You're not supposed to be doing that. But I mean, the infrastructure is just not built here for this. I mean, many of these buildings are built in the 40s and the 50s. There's really no space to like add shit, change shit, add power lines. And again, even if you did add all that shit, it would probably be destroyed by the end of the week, and all the bikes would be stolen anyway. Like, so I don't see how you fix this. There are so many problems that even go outside of e-bikes that you have to fix here. So just the fact that this is happening in NYC housing in general, yeah, you ban these bikes from NYC housing. Somebody will say, well, then you can use it outside of NYC housing. But the like, who are choosing to deliver food in -5
People
degree
who would
weather?
live in NYC housing.
Yeah, but if you do that when you're broke, it's a great way to make money when you're broke. If you don't have, if you haven't graduated college and you just got here. And that's one of the beautiful things about New York City, I'll always say, is when you show up there, you can show up there and start making money immediately. It's just, it's up to you. You can work whichever 100 hours of the week you want, and there will be somebody there who wants to give you money for what it is that you can offer. But the downside of it is, when you start out and you're broke, that's probably where you're going to be living, and that's probably what you're going to be doing. Like there's so many societal issues that would have to be like, okay, just the fact that the delivery guy gets paid like shit. Good luck fixing that legislatively, because you're going to raise the wage that the restaurants pay, and then when you do that, Grubhub's already taking like 20 or 30% from these restaurants and not paying until the end of the month. Half of these restaurants have gone out of business in the past 3 years anyway, and then you're going to have to fix the issue of the repair shop being in an apartment. I don't see anybody mentioning this whatsoever. Not a single article covering the e-bike thing goes over the fact that all these repair shops are existing in apartments. Why don't they have commercial space? Because the devices they're fixing exist in a gray legal area, so real legitimate bike shops that actually have knowledgeable technicians say, I'm not touching that because I don't want the legal liability. So now what happens, this is something that comes up with right to repair all the time, and people say, I don't want somebody who doesn't know what they're doing working on my stuff. A big problem when you drive an industry underground is that you don't have the talented and the best working on that stuff, because people who are talented, that are good at what they do, they don't want to deal with legal liability from doing something that they are not legally allowed to do. People who are if you're gonna figure who's more likely to break the law to do their job, somebody who has somebody who's highly skilled, or somebody who has no other choice other than to break the law than to make their money. So
I think the latter. I think the latter is definitely going to be more likely to try to cut corners so that they can get that money as quickly as possible. They're going to not do the most thorough repair job. They're going to do just enough to try to get the circuits to work so that they can get paid and that person can get back out onto the road. Now, that bike may break the same day or the next day, but at least they got paid for that repair. If you got a guy that actually has a storefront, they're going to take the time. They are going to make sure that they QA test. They're going to make sure that you give them a 4.5, 5-star review on Yelp or some Yelp-like review, because they're looking to grow a sustainable business. The former is going to take greater care and more time to make sure that repair is workable, less likely to end up in a fire.
Yeah, you're not going to get the top of the heap when you make something illegal. You're just going to drive the industry underground, and then the people that are actually talented are going to say, I will work at, I don't want to pump myself up. I'll work at Simple Mac, or I'll work at Tiger's Mac Repair on 35th Street or something. They're not going to want to work in an illegitimate industry unless they are absolutely forced to, or have their arm twisted into it, or maybe they're just not good enough to do the legal work, so they'll do the illegal work. So you're driving the industry underground, and then there's the whole I know I'm repeating myself, but people can't afford real spaces to work out of. There's a reason that you don't have a thriving. When you walk around, how many times have you seen a bike shop that wasn't owned by Trek? Anybody notice that? You can't afford to do business in New York City anymore.
One or two.
Yeah, all these places that used to be real independent bike shops are now Trek. And when you walk into Trek, they have the same. It looks like an Apple store or a Tesla showroom. That has taken over New York City. All these small bike shops, I remember in Midtown Manhattan and Chelsea, all that East Village area.
Chelsea, that one off of what is that, 15th and 7th Avenue? You know the one I'm talking about.
Yeah, that used to be an independent bike shop, and now that is a Trek. So you cannot afford to do business in New York City unless you are a giant chain. And even if you are a giant chain, you're probably simply running a loss leader business in Manhattan. You're not actually running a business that makes money.
Exactly.
You're running a business that gets attention in the hopes that if you get enough attention outside of New York City, people will also buy your product because your brand will be recognized by the Casey Neistats of the world, the famous influencers that walk by and buy stuff at your facility. So, and that's not, you're not legislating that away easily. You can't come up with a 3-line bill that's going to fix that problem. But what problem can we fix? Well, people are afraid of e-bikes being fixed in apartments. So let's make a bill banning remanufactured batteries. There, we're done. Like the public read an article where they were talking about bikes being fixed in apartments. We've disallowed that. So there you go. We fixed the problem. And that's the problem that I have with politicians in that city. Like they always look to fix the surface level issue. You never dig into anything else. And if you and the rare event that they actually do dig into the everything else, they just wind up making it worse in some way.
Right. And it's weird because, I'm a driver and I love driving. And I've witnessed the war on cars that New York City and a lot of its residents have undertaken to try to force people to use transportation modes that they don't want to use. And one of the unintended consequences is, well, if you want more people on bikes and e-bikes, you're going to need a place to charge these bikes. And B, with the exponential growth in the bikes, even if you have the best battery packs in the world, just by chance, the way people treat their stuff, people brushing into stuff, crashing into stuff, with more bicycles in the environment, you're inevitably going to end up with exponentially more fires from the batteries, even if the quality of the batteries is top notch, because you have so many more that are on the road. When you're in a situation where the commercial real estate is insanely expensive, when there are no places that actually support e-bikes in your atmosphere, in your environment. Like you don't see ready charging stations for these bikes outside. You don't have a designated place indoors for people to charge these bikes. You don't have any places to store these bicycles outside the apartment. What are you going to do when you've been begging people to get out of their cars, when you want them, you want to make all these protected bike lanes? If people are going to use these bike lanes, they're going to be using these e-bikes. There has to be something in the infrastructure so that supports the ownership of the e-bike. And that includes actual repair space, repair shops, places that are affordable enough to open up a repair shop, and places to charge, because again, where the fuck else are you going to charge them?
Yeah, and the other thing with the charging, like I don't see how you fix that problem at all. So let's say that you create standardized outlets only for charging the bikes. Well, every single one of these bikes, every single one of these batteries has different connectors. Some use XLR. Why they use XLR is beyond me. It's an audio connector. It's not made for 5 amps at 48 volts. But they'll have an audio. I really think that's a meme. So microphones, like this microphone uses phantom power, 48 volts, XLR. But that's 0.0001 amps. And some idiot thought, okay, well, e-bikes use 48 volts. What uses a 48 volt connector? Oh, XLR, not realizing that you're charging a bike at 5. Anyway, besides that, so some use XT60, some use XT90, some use Anderson connectors, some use XLR, and also they use different voltages. So some e-bike batteries are meant for 36 volts, 48 volts, 58 volts, 52 volts, 72 volts. So you're not going to be offering them that. What you're going to be doing is you're going to be offering them a normal 120 volt power receptacle and saying, whatever the charger came with your e-bike, plug that into here. But now you have something that can be used as an outlet. And you know what happens whenever you give people in New York City something nice? If a restaurant opens up and they have an open to the public bathroom, within 30 minutes, somebody will be living in there. There will be piss all over the walls. It will look and smell like absolute garbage. It'll look like it has not been cleaned in 30 years, even though they just opened to the public 3 minutes ago. Imagine what's going to happen with this. You're going to have people going by there. Like people are going to be charging their electric cars over there. People are going to be running 300-foot extension cords saying, I don't have to pay Con Edison anymore. Like it's, the problem with something like, I don't know how you build something like that in New York City. It's going to I like, as much as I like to make fun of, even that aside, in a city with 8.5 million people in this much space, some people are going to be pricks. And when you have that many people in such a small space, even if 0.001% of them are pricks, the e-bike charging thing is just not going to work. Like, how do you keep somebody from walking by and unplugging your shit? With Tesla, They have their own proprietary connector, and the connector locks. So if the car door is locked, the connector is locked in there, so somebody can't just come by and take it out. But that's not the case with e-bikes. Again, you have a charger that you're plugging into a standard wall outlet with your XLR connector. So if it takes 3 or 5 hours for your bike to charge, I could just come by and unplug it. I could mess with it. People. Like, with the homeless problem in New York City, you give people free electricity with the homeless problem they have in New York City right now. They're going to make a little tent city out there. They're going to have their air conditioner and their heater and their grill and everything else. Like, it's not an easy problem to solve. And like,
just happy you're gone from here.
You have no idea. I smile just thinking about not being there. But it's not a problem this is not an easy problem to solve. Like,
right.
I mean, I think the best combination of this is educate people on what they should and shouldn't do when charging their battery. Give people like best practices. I don't know, like it would be nice if you charge it in a bucket full, around a bucket full of sand or some shit like that. But even that, or charge it at low amperage so that you can charge it in a bucket full of sand, but not have to worry about thermal runaway from the battery getting hot. Let's say don't. What else is there? Repair shops that are licensed even to have that, then you need to figure out how to lower the cost of commercial real estate so people are not doing it in an apartment. And above all, honestly, you wouldn't have at most 99% of these problems if the batteries just didn't suck. Like if the batteries didn't suck. Again, these batteries being repaired, I'm going to go out on a limb and say that they're not EM3V batteries. They are not batteries that have per-cell fusing. They are not batteries that have BMSs that you could short together with tweezers or a screwdriver and just have the BMS laugh and say, okay, we're turning it off. They're probably unit pack power batteries where if you accidentally shorted positive and negative, the whole thing blows up. I doubt that these are batteries that have temperature sensors that go, oh, the battery's gone over 59 Celsius. We're going to turn off output because we don't want to hit thermal runaway. Like the EM3V batteries, thermal runaway happens around 95 to 100 Celsius. If it hits 60 Celsius, it just turns off output because it thinks to itself, you know what, we're not even getting within 35 Celsius of thermal runaway. We're just going to turn it off over here. Like stuff like that is smart. I don't think these batteries have that. If there was even the most basic amount of education that went into this, and then maybe like this, you would have less people perhaps using bikes with fucked up batteries to begin with. And we wouldn't be coming up with legislation to fix a problem that doesn't exist.
And even if there is a problem, the type of legislation that they're bringing to the table does not address the actual problem at hand. You guys down in the comments section, give us your opinions on e-bikes in general. Do you own one? Would you like to trade your car in for an e-bike that goes, I don't know, 24.99999 miles an hour?
I don't know what the speed limit is on them now. I'm very curious what the legal speed limit is on an e-bike.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Obviously, each municipality has their own laws, if they have any, on the books, because the laws tend to lag behind technology a bit. So I think that as the e-bikes become more ubiquitous, you're going to see more legislation on the books to govern them. You guys in the comment section, we want to see you govern the e-bikes. What kind of, I don't know, do you have any solutions down there? Put them in the comments if you think that you have an idea that New York can implement, and then hopefully if they use your idea, they will pay you. As you guys know, this is the home of the cold truth and the hot take and the even hotter e-bike batteries. Make sure you hit that subscription button, hit the notification bell. We have a goal to hit 1,000 subscribers before the end of 2022. Definitely also go check out Louis Rossman at Louis Rossman on YouTube. The link will be in the description. And also Louis Rossman with his random live streams, the link to that channel where he will be driving and talking about random things.
Hey, since my bike has not been taken out of New York, but will in the next few weeks, does that mean that we can get footage of you riding on an e-bike for this channel?
Absolutely fucking not.
Because Rich Rebuilds did it. I rode him and his friend on that. We had 3 people on an e-bike. It was awesome.
He put an 8-cylinder in a Tesla.
Yes.
And we love Rich around here. We love Rich Rebuilds around here. Hopefully he comes to New York City, he hangs out. We can get Louis Rossman on, someone's private jet to bring him back over here. We can, all hang out. But no.
Why won't you ride an e-bike? They're lovely They're lovely machines. You don't trust the one I put together? It uses EM3V batteries. I
like my bones unbroken and my skin without road rash. So I like to be in the confines of an actual vehicle to protect myself.
I like the ability to jump off and if I think something horrible is going to happen.
Yeah, I like to just be able to hit my brake pedal and know that the car is going to stop. That's me.
I have brakes too. I have to replace them every 2 weeks. I can
Yeah,
say
when
it
I
now
jam
'cause-
on the brakes, I don't go over the. I don't have to like fly over the steering wheel. Like you jam on the brake, I don't know.
I go
Might be
through my
going over the
brakes every
handle.
2 weeks because my e-bike goes 48 miles an hour. I can say that out loud because I don't live there anymore. Yeah, I don't have to keep saying 19.9. So the most I ever did, I went on some road at like 3 in the morning during the COVID, just out of curiosity when there's nobody there to see like how fast can this actually go, and I hit 48 miles an hour. It was exhilarating.
Yeah, I would have been terrified. Anyway, definitely check out Louis Rossman on his main channel and also on his live stream channel. The links will be in the description. And we're going to let Louis sign off this video.
That's it for today, and as always, I hope you learned something.